Welcome to Watch the Game podcast. I'm your man LA Cheatham.
Benjamin Banneker, what's going on, people? What's going on? What's going on?
It's a lot going on, man. It's a lot going on. Um, Good people, feel free to join us on YouTube, WTG. What is it? WTG
Podcast one.
Podcast One on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and like the videos so we can build a platform on YouTube. But it's good to get back at it tonight. There's a lot going on. There's a lot has happened since the last time we talked. Um, of course, we in the spirit of March Madness, and the college buckets are very important at this time of season. Uh, NFL Combine has come and gone. The NBA is living up to its hype after the trade deadline and after the All Star break and some of the more popular buyout options that you know preceded the All Star break. So before I go forward, I'm gonna let the talented man, the talented one, the music man, Benjamin Banneker. What you got to say about all this, man? We've been missing in action, but it never stops. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, man. Well, I've been heavy on the college basketball since probably maybe I say mid to late January. So I gotta when the brackets time come out, the office bracket fool, I'm finna kill this year. But I'm killing this year. As long as you don't ask me about no Pac-12 and the out west teams, I'm good. But SEC, ACC, Big 12, Big 10, I pretty much got that covered. Um, the NBA, we was talking off air. I'm mad. I'm mad that I missed the Phoenix Dallas game this past week. But I was watching Michigan IU, so it wasn't like I was just playing Grand Theft Auto or something. I was still watching the game. I just wasn't watching that one. So, and then the combine actually snuck up on me again because I've been so heavy into college basketball. It was like, oh, the combine happening or whatever, and I was happy to hear the reports that came out of Bears media and what Ryan Poles had to say. So, but is it me or do the combine always happen this early? Because we still like maybe like 50 some odd days out from the draft.
Well, this is it, man. The combine is usually like that first week of March. Um, and it comes and goes so fast. The NFL just do a spectacular job of just keeping that product marketed to us. And yes, the combine has come and gone. And you know what? I always think, and hopefully one day I'll get a chance to do so, is to go down and watch at least one day of the combine.
The underwear Olympics, you wanna go down there?
Yeah, I mean because it's, I mean it might be all hype, but that's kind of on the bucket list to go down there and check it out. I mean it is only an hour and a half away in Indianapolis. Hopefully they keep it there long enough for me to get down and visit. But um, one thing that I don't know if you're aware of, and I thought about you when this happened. Cornerback, defensive back, R.J. Davis, Michigan.
Mhm.
Does that name ring a bell?
Not at all. Not at all.
Well, the name I could have the name wrong, but Michigan had a kid go down to the combine and run a 4.27 in the 40.
So we talking category status.
I want you to see if you could track that kid's name down.
Yeah, I'm
He
looking.
went to Michigan.
R.J. Davis.
You got him?
No, let's see. That's coming up for North Carolina. R.J. Davis, Michigan. No, R.J. Davis.
Well, the kid ran a 4.2740, and he's from Michigan. Because the man said, one of the narrators said, "Go blue," and all I could think about was the lack of speed it seemed like that they had on their team that you and your dad would complain about.
Uh huh.
And how in the hell this kid gets to the combine and run 4.240? Wait a minute, see, 4.2740 time. And then, hey, and he was playing defensive back. They couldn't find a way to get the football in this guy's hand.
Man, listen, I know how it happened. Now I know how it happened. I saw an interview with it was Mike Morris over the weekend. He was doing a podcast on one of the outlets, and he was talking about how it is playing for Jim Harbaugh. And he called them house plants and field crops.
Mm,
House
okay.
plants house plants is the guys that need all this extra attention. They need all this. Everything got to be just right. All this special love for them to play, and then you got the field crops. It's just all we need is some sunshine, some rain, and some outdoors, and we good. So he probably was a house plant. That's probably why he was not on the field. But I mean, I've been critical about that, about Jim Harbaugh and his whole tenure, especially when I heard Urban Meyer do an interview and he said every week at Ohio State they used to, not like they're a factor anymore, but anyway, every week at Ohio State they would say, who are the best 22 kids that we got? How can we get them on the field? And I don't think Michigan's infrastructure was set up that way. I think it's more politics. It's more, oh, this kid been here 2 years. It's time for him to get his shot. Freshman, I don't care if you run a 3.640, you not getting on the field because you're a freshman. It's just too much old school mentality. I still think in that program, but why he not running back kickoffs or punts?
Well, that's my question. But first of all, we got to find out exactly who this kid is. I know he went to Michigan, and and I know you know the guy because you're a Michigan fan, and I know you're gonna know this kid's name. But he ran a 4.2740 at the combine.
Yeah, I'm still trying to look it up to see who it is.
Well, you keep an eye on that, and please get back with me because this that took me for a loop. But to get back to the college basketball tournament, as March Madness is taking over and the conference tournaments are being played as we speak. One of the teams that came into the season with all the hype, even number one in the preseason, number one in the country, was the North Carolina Tar Heels. This was a team that came in with the hype. And I'm going to do a little bit of storytelling, if you can bear with me.
The floor is
In,
yours.
in the spring of 1981, um, the North Carolina Tar Heels lost national championship game to Robert Montgomery Knight and the Indiana Hoosiers, and they had their star point guard Isaiah Thomas.
Did you just say his whole government name?
Robert Montgomery Knight, the general. Okay. So how can you tell story time without using the whole name? So they went into the national championship game and lost to the Indiana Hoosiers 1981. And that team had James Worthy, Matt Doherty, Jimmy Black.
They had to be
Uh,
freshmen then, right?
say it again.
They had to be freshmen then, right?
No, 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 no. Uh, uh, Sam Perkins was a freshman.
Okay.
James Worthy was a sophomore.
Okay.
Matt Doherty, I believe he was a freshman. Jimmy Black, I think he was a junior. He was the point guard, and I think their two guard was, I could be wrong. I think it was Al Wood. Al Wood was a senior on that team. At this time, they lost to the Hoosiers. The Hoosiers had Ray Tolbert, Isaiah Thomas, and guy's name kind of slipped my mind. Landon Turner. Landon Turner, I think was the most. I don't know if he was the most valuable player of that tournament, but Landon Turner later on had a car accident in that preceding that season that permanently put him in a wheelchair. But okay, that was the spring of 1981. Tar Heels lose to the Indiana Hoosiers, and then we go into the fall of 1981. There was a Sports Illustrated cover.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Doherty, Jimmy Black, Sam Perkins,
Yeah.
James Worthy.
Yeah.
The freshman wasn't on the cover. Dean Smith diagramming the play for the guys. Freshmen wasn't they weren't allowed to be getting any media coverage as far as Coach Smith was concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So they went into the season much like this year's team, North Carolina team went into the season, losing in the national championship with that expectation for more. What a great freshman recruiting class coming in. Okay, fall of 1981, midwinter or whatever, mid fall going into the winter, we were introduced to Mike Jordan. Needless to say, that team held up to the hype. They went on to win the 1982 national championship against the Georgetown Warriors. Let's go to 2022.
Yep.
Spring of 2022, Carolina, the Tar Heels made a hell of a run, barely made the tournament, beat Coach K twice.
In the Final Four.
Yeah, they beat him the last game in Cameron Indoor, and then they beat him in his last game, a really epic game in the Final Four. Then they go out, they lose to Kansas after blowing maybe a 15, 16-point lead, only to come into this season with the similar hype of the fall of 1981.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are, and we're in 2023. That team came into this season with the hype of number one, preseason number one, and now they're just battling with every game. They need every game they can in this ACC tournament to get in this, just to get in the tournament again. How do you feel about that? I got some other stuff I want to touch on about that team, but
if they got to win the tournament to get in. They got to win the ACC tournament to get in because they was talking about Carolina been on the bubble 3 weeks ago. I think they were saying they only had one quad, one win. This is 3 weeks ago now, and they lost a lot of key games that they should have won. They had a chance to beat Duke at the last game of the season. They lost. It was at home. They lost to Duke both times, matter of fact. Um, they lost to, I believe, North Carolina State on a Sunday afternoon after being up a healthy margin. And when I say healthy, it was double digits. And the two guards from North Carolina State just completely took that game over. They played tonight. Now I'll say they look good. They did what they were supposed to do versus Boston College. I think they ended up winning that game by 20. But I would not be surprised if they come out tomorrow and lay an egg and lose. They might
It,
get in the tournament just based off the name across the chest, but I don't think how can you reward a team that came into the season number one? And if we talking about you on maybe the last four in, the first four out, you out in my opinion. That's just too far of a fall from the mountaintop to be considered. So I think Carolina has to win the ACC tournament, which I don't think they're gonna do because I think it's a lot of teams better than them in the ACC. Um, I think Miami is better than them. Didn't they blow a lead to Florida State? I feel like they did. so, uh, and the guard, I know we talk a lot about guard play and the way the game is played. Love number two, he comes and goes. Usually when he goes, they win or they can be competitive. When he doesn't show, it's over with. I don't believe in Baycott, the big man they got down low. Like they got a lot of flaws. So like just eye test, no, they do not. They do not need to be in the field of 68.
yeah.
They shouldn't be.
Right now, they're 11-9 in the conference, 20-12 overall. Usually, 20 wins will get you in. Usually. Now, I think if they could win, you say they need to win the ACC championship.
Yep.
So I don't know if the tally is up to date, but at 20-12, I think they would need to win at least two more games.
So they need to get to Saturday.
Yeah, and that's only if I believe if they can get to 22 wins, they could get in the tournament and be one of the play-in games.
Oh,
The
two.
reason why, the reason why is because it's the 22 win factor. Because 20 wins used to get you in, and then there's the traditional Carolina factor,
Right.
and that's good for television on the first Tuesday of the tournament. Albeit, it's a shame that you would have a team struggle just to get to that point. But I mean, I remember when UCLA was in the same position, not so much with the preseason speculation, but UCLA was in Michigan at one point were in the same situation where they had to win one of those first Wednesday night games,
Mm-hmm.
and they they rolled that momentum all the way to the Final Four. Um, but I just think that's one of the things that's ahead of the Tar Heels, and me personally, I have a special interest in this team. I've always been a Tar Heel fan because of Michael Jordan.
Because of GOAT.
Yeah, I've always I've always had a soft spot in my heart for the Tar Heels because of Michael Jordan. But this year they have a kid named Jalen Washington, and this is a kid I had the opportunity to coach as a sixth and seventh grader, and he was part of a top three freshman class that was recruited onto this team. And if you remember, last year's team only went about 6, 7 deep.
Yeah.
And I just felt, and I believe most of the experts felt, with this recruiting class, that it can get them up to a rotation of 8 or 9, and it could push them over the hump. And I think they had a lot to do with the speculation, with all that returning talent, and then the influx of really good freshman recruits. I just think those are two of the things that pushed them over the hump to be preseason number one. But you can't go into this tournament without saying that's one of the biggest letdowns throughout college basketball. Preseason number one, and now you're not even in the top ranking. You would need every game just to get in the tournament.
Yeah, I'm looking at their schedule right now. They lost to. I mean, it's no shame in losing to Alabama. That was in overtime too. They lost to Alabama by 2. They lost to IU. They lost to Virginia Tech. They lost to Pittsburgh twice. Shout out to Jeff Capel. Uh, like I said, they lost to NC State. They lost to Wake Forest. They lost to Miami. Like they got a lot of. They lost to Duke twice. They got a lot of games on here. It's like, yeah,
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 man. They just they just struggled to find a rhythm very early, and it just struggled all season. And I just think the inability to get those freshmen to really contribute on the back end of depth, and somebody just come to the forefront. Not quite like Mike Jordan,
well, it's only one of them, so
you know, but they needed a freshman or two to come out and get them over the hump, and I don't think that happened. Um, but I'm still rooting for the Tar Heels. My man Big Jalen Washington, Gary, Indiana, freshman man, number 13. Uh, so if you get a chance to see him, you may check in sooner or later. I know he had one of his better games against Virginia. He
he
backed
played.
up Baycott.
He
Yeah,
played,
but he hasn't played much.
but they was up by so much that a lot of the reserves got in tonight. So I definitely remember seeing number 30. You said 13, right?
13 with the TWA.
Yeah.
He got the afro. Oh, Jay Wash. Big boy. That's my man. But I really want to see them have a run because I'd like to see more of him. I'd like to see more of the Carolina Tar Heels. And you talked about the coverage of not knowing as much about the Pac-12.
Yeah, outside of UCLA and Arizona, I haven't seen uh, too much Pac-12 basketball. I saw, I think Washington State and Oregon play one night, and that was just because my parlay was still alive, so I had to go ahead and pull that through. But yeah, I haven't seen USC play. I know Colorado. I think they won today. I haven't seen them at all. When you say Colorado, all I think is Deion Sanders. So I mean, I didn't even know they had a basketball team. So it's
Come
it's a
on,
lot.
man. Come on, man. Chauncey Billups played for the Colorado Buffs, man, way before Dion,
Hey man, I thought
and
they
Eric
just
Bieniemy and
yeah.
Cordell Stewart, and
Yeah, that's football. I thought they disbanded the basketball team. That's how.
well, Chauncey Billups he was a Buff. He's probably one of the best guard to ever come out of, probably the best player to ever come out of Colorado. I
we talk.
believe Chauncey Billups was a Buff.
We talk. He was. We talking
Hmm
90s. We talking early 90s.
Hey, hey, man, hey. You know when you get them special, they don't come a dime a dozen special to a program like Colorado. So I just had to make sure that that Dion is, he brought some more cachet that way, and I'm looking forward to the Colorado Buffaloes football team as well. But
The
don't
spring
forget
game.
about Chauncey.
I believe I heard that this Colorado's Buffaloes spring football game is sold out.
I heard that too, and I will be. I'm pretty sure it's going to be televised, and
I'll be
I
watching.
find a, I'm gonna find a way to watch.
Yeah.
Now, you talk about the Big 12, another team of interest in the Big 12 that I hold dear to my heart. But they had to get guys like they started out the season pretty. A lot of guys were injured when they started the season. When they started getting these guys, they started they started to take form, and you start to see how good this team could be, which was the Oregon Ducks. And special guy, special player for me anyway was Jermaine Cousinard, number 5. Another guy I had a chance to coach, and he joined the team in late December after having a knee surgery. He's one of the kids that has the benefit of another COVID season. One of the older kids in college sports, but we're getting a lot of that, through the COVID year. But that team, Oregon, with all the influx of talent that joined them like mid-December, might be the deepest team in college basketball.
They're gonna have to pull it together. They
Yeah,
going
but you got to remember I'm just saying they're in a tight spot, but they are really playing good basketball at the right time, and they are talented and deep enough to make a run. But you're right, they have to get through the Pac-12 tournament. Now they have a kid, the Dante, big 7 footer. I mean, man, got to be one of the premier big men that's going to have an opportunity to play in the NBA. Could run, jump, finish multiple different ways, and it just seems like with every game he just gets better. Defending at the rim, shooting the ball from about 15 feet out. When we talk about a guy like Zach Edey,
mm-hmm.
possibly being the best, well, not the best player in the country, but the number 1 player in the country, his game don't really translate to the NBA.
Right.
But this kid Dante, his game translates to the NBA to me. And that's just one thing I want to touch on: the Oregon Ducks, a deep basketball team in the Pac-12. I remember you said you didn't see much of it, so we
Not
want to
not
try and
Oregon.
say that.
I see now. No, I ain't see a lot of Oregon. I think the only time I saw Oregon play this again, my parlay was still alive. I think they played maybe Washington, and Washington edged them out right at the end. But yeah, I probably only see, once for sure, maybe twice. I didn't see Oregon play. I think they was
Well,
on what's Fox's national game that they do on Saturday night with Gus Johnson. I think they played
yeah,
maybe Arizona one night. I
okay,
may have been tuned into that, but yeah, I haven't seen a lot of
yeah.
Oregon.
They beat Arizona once. I think they split with Arizona in Eugene, Oregon. They beat them, and then when they went to I believe it was when they went to Mesa, they
Yeah, they
lost.
lost. Yeah.
Um, but Pac-12, UCLA, probably the best in the Pac-12. They're 27-4 overall. You know, that's number 2 team in the country. Houston holding it down at number one, Kansas at number three, and then Alabama at number four. And that's like a logjam because between those four teams, I can't really say who the best team is. I mean, and you know, one reason why I feel this way is because of the way the game is played. They
Mm-hmm.
dribble too much.
Especially especially Alabama, but yeah.
And the reason why I say this is because when you dribble the ball as much as they do, you cannot dictate where the ball is going to end up at the end of games in crucial moments. And and if you don't have a 5 or 6 possession lead, that could be critical. And I believe that's what kind of keeps these teams so connected to the way the game is played. I don't for the life of me, I cannot pick a team to say this is the best team in the country.
Yeah, out of them three, you know who you name Bama, Houston, Kansas, them three, right?
Houston
It's
at number one,
yeah.
UCLA at number two, Kansas and Bama round out at 3 and 4. And then Purdue is five.
With
Now
Purdue ain't
I
gonna
think I know why Purdue isn't as good as I would think because I just think they don't have the guard play.
yeah, and
But
we
those
talk
other four teams,
yeah, out of all them four teams, if I had to bet on somebody to make it to the Final Four, it would probably be UCLA. And the reason I'm saying that is because I've seen Houston extensively. I think Houston is a little undersized. And they play in the American, right? So other than Memphis, like how many times are they really getting challenged per season? Now, Calvin Sampson, good coach. They got a good team. They got some hoopers on the team. But I think they big men are a little undersized, and that could be a problem. They could get exposed when they run into just a team with some bodies in the tournament. As with Bama, their team with Quigley and Sears and Brandon Miller, who I think he's the best player in college basketball. His game reminds me a lot of Paul George. I think just having him on the floor, being the best player on the floor many nights, gives them a chance to win. But they've been starting so slow lately, and they had to come back in the second half of a lot of these games to pull it out. And all it takes one bad bounce of the ball, and then you go home in the tournament and whatnot. So I actually be surprised if they win the SEC tournament because they don't play until Friday. So that means they had like almost a whole week off versus these other teams that's playing and got a rhythm now. So I wouldn't be surprised if they don't come out the SEC tournament. And who's the other team we said? We said Houston, Bama, UCLA, and Kansas. Kansas is another team that I've seen them start very slow, but they got Jalen Wilson on the team, another player of the year candidate. So you can't discount them because when you got a kid like that, especially being a guard, a kid like that who got NBA talent, he has the ability to just take over the game and just win it by himself. But out of all them four teams, like I said, I haven't seen a lot of Pac-12 basketball outside of UCLA and Arizona. I think I would take UCLA to actually get to the Final Four. The other three I think can be had. I don't think Purdue is a factor. I think they'll be. I don't think they're gonna get out the first weekend of the tournament again because of guard play. They lost to IU twice. The second time at home, and let what's his Hood Shafrino #1 on IU come in and get his career high 35, and he's been quiet ever since. So I just don't think they got enough. And I'm just like we said, Edie's game don't translate well to the NBA, but I still think if you just say Edie, go get yours, and we shutting everything out, he don't have the ability. He can't go get you 50. You know
mm-mm.
what I mean? So I don't think they're making it out the first round of not the first round, the first weekend of the big tournament. and I don't think they're gonna win the Big Ten tournament.
That's interesting. Indiana and Purdue, probably the two top teams in the Big East. I mean, not in the Big East, in the Big Ten. And as that tournament goes on right now, one interesting thing about the Big Ten tournament, little off subject, but it's very, very important for anyone that we know that may be going to see these games in
At the UC,
United Center in Chicago. You know, the concessions and that group of people
yeah, they don't
at
strike.
any given time they could strike,
Yeah,
and the tailgating will be much more important than even the game itself, because you're not gonna have any beer and food if those people strike. That's just one thing I want to touch on. But um, let me that's just a little small funny nugget. Now, when you get back to these teams, I want to talk about guard play. We'll talk about Alabama. Javon Quinterly, uh, kid out of New Jersey,
hmm
very highly recruited out of New Jersey. I think he started his career at Villanova, and at that time, Villanova was breeding champions. Winning championships when he got recruited in. I think he had a problem with the coach at Villanova, transferred out. He's at Alabama, and now he's playing with one of the best players in the country, young Brandon Miller. I just believe that if Quinterly could hit perimeter jump shots when it's important and just take care of the basketball, which is key for any point guard. But if he can hit open jump shots, that makes Alabama better. And same thing for the UCLA Bruins, because they have a point guard that's been there for a while, Tyler Campbell.
oh
Tiger
yeah,
Campbell. Campbell.
hmm
And I think it's going to be the same thing with him. He's from Grand Rapids, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He came locally and went to a prep school, La Lemire, in Laporte, Indiana. So I had a chance to see him a little bit in high school, but he's been at UCLA for quite a while. He's had Final Four experience, and I just think that he has to do the exact same thing. He has to hit open shots, and that team UCLA was going to be better, have a better chance at advancing through these tournaments. Um, but you know what? Tonight you brought up something the last time we spoke, or maybe it was through text message, and you said that you wanted to go live after selection Sunday.
oh yeah.
So we gotta have to keep that on the table, because I just think much like we kept up with college football, we just kind of focused on the top four teams in the country because it was all leading up to the national college football playoff. And today we kind of touched on North Carolina, and then we touched on the top five teams in the country as of today. So I'm looking forward to get back again together on Sunday, because at that time these conference tournaments will have been played out, and we will know where these teams are, who's in, who's out, and where they're going, where they seated. And unless you got anything to add, because there's so much to talk about, so little time to do it. And I would like to agree. I think agree. We are behind on some things. Because when we come back Sunday, I'm gonna know who in the hell that kid was that ran that 4.27 at the
At the,
NFL Combine
okay,
from
okay.
Michigan.
Okay.
We might want to do our research on that. And I like to bring that to the attention of Cutter Pac-Man, Uncle Henry,
Hmm.
and number 12.
Okay.
Because I think they'd be quite pissed to know that they had a guy go in the combine and run a 4.27 for Michigan. And when I get a chance, I'm going to send you that video. I meant to send it to you the day I seen it. I actually seen it with my own eyes.
Okay.
But I had been under the weather and I didn't think to like let me send this out. But I just knew like hell you knew who this kid would be. And I know
Yeah,
you're gonna know who he is.
I
So
gotta see it. Yeah, yeah, I gotta see it.
so also, last but not least, and I'm gonna let you finish up. The Bulls are playing your Miami Heat coming up this weekend.
Hmm.
I'm gonna try and stir up some ruckus with the TaylorMade boys.
Okay. All
So
right.
Sunday is our target date to get back on. But I want to leave an option. And maybe we can go on before then. I want to leave an option. Because I believe this game, I'm trying to think. I don't know if it's this weekend or next weekend.
I think it's next week. I feel like it was like the 20. Let's
Let me
see.
see
Bulls
here.
versus Heat. I know the Bulls obviously on
I'm,
a road trip right now.
I'm on it right now. Okay, so
The March 18th.
March the 18th. So that's next week.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a little time on our hand. So let's look forward to getting back together on Sunday. And we could talk a lot more about this college basketball. The brackets will be made out. We'll know who's in, we'll know who's out. Hell, the North Carolina Tar Heels might even be in. So with that being said, I'm looking forward to Sunday, and I hope the people are listening are as well because my high school basketball season is over and I got time on my hand.
Hey man,
So all I could do is watch the game.
hey, listen. I This has been probably the most college basketball I have watched probably since early 2000s. Early definitely Fab 5 era. I watched a lot then, but yeah, early 2000s. Prior to this is the most I've been watching, probably because I just really can't just really buy into what NBA basketball is right now. And and with the sports betting, that makes it more interesting too. But man, it's just been fun watching the game, and especially we go from football season to basketball, and then we'll probably take a little break after the NBA playoffs conclude, and then come end of July, we'll be talking about college football again. So,
Yeah.
it's a great time to be a fan, man. Great time to be a fan. Before we go though, I gotta know. I don't know if you was gonna bring it up. What did
What's
you
that?
think? What did you think about the comments that was coming out of RGM Ryan Pohl's mouth about what they plan to do with the number one pick?
Well, with the news of what's the kid out of Georgia?
Jalen Carter.
Yeah. With the news of him being involved in his accident that resulted in the death of one of his teammates and the football staff at the University of Georgia. I think I really don't know until we find out how the league, well, more so not so much the league, but the authorities are going to deal with Jalen Carter.
Mm,
I just think that the Bears. I do think they want to trade that first pick, but when you add the Jalen Carter situation, it's just so much up in the air. And we can go as far as down to maybe somewhere just below the top 10, 8, 9, and it don't change. The Bears just need a bunch of bodies.
Good, but
And
yeah, yeah.
when you look at the now that we talking football and we talking Bears, the 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 tag, the date where you could put the franchise tag on players has come and gone and is here upon us. And the Bears decided not to use a franchise tag on David Montgomery. But there's no Saquon Barkley.
He signed.
There's
Yep.
no Jacobs coming to Chicago.
Yep.
Who in the hell? Who in the hell? I like Juice Herbert, but this is a two-back league. I'm a little concerned about who the other running back is going to be and what the hell, how they feel about David Montgomery coming back. I'm
Um.
gonna leave you with this. I'm gonna leave you with this. Kyrie Blasingame, the fullback,
Mm-hmm.
got a 2-year extension. Think that's a good thing. But where's the priority? Where is the priority in the backfield?
If they didn't tag Demo, which has to lead me to believe that he's not in their future plans if they can't get him at the right price.
I'm with that. But
And you still
I
got
don't know if he has much leverage.
that's what I'm saying. So if you're the Bears, if he not in your future plans, okay, you still got Khalil on the rookie deal. You got the first pick, and we know I've heard scenarios where they could trade that thing twice, trade it back to somebody else, and then trade it back and get some more picks. So in that scenario, you could go get you another rookie running back. Now you got him on a rookie deal. You got Justin on the rookie deal. You might want to think about paying Justin right now because salary cap is going to go up again. And we all know you probably should lock him in now because paying Justin maybe $30 million a year looks real good on paper right now versus when he really come up for his contract and you have to give him 45, 47, $48 million. So you might want to think about doing that. With the Jalen Carter situation, is Jalen Carter hands down the best player in the draft? I don't know. I don't know. But like you said, we need bodies. This draft and this off seasons could really set the Bears up. I'm thinking like mid 80s, when they had that run. Because everybody's young, everybody would be young, everybody be on a rookie deal. This is your time to try and go for it. So hey, if it's me, I'm trying to get as many picks as I can. Many picks as I can. I know they was looking at Jackson Smith and Jigba, who played with, I think he played with Justin a year. You get him. It's some guy. Man, listen, Aaron Rodgers, he just met with the Jets. Okay, he might be coming up out the division. This thing could really be falling in our lap, and we could be part. I know we ain't going to Bears, Illinois yet, but man, this Super Bowl shuffle time, man. I'm telling you.
I can feel it. I can most definitely taste it. And we waited to the end for this thing to get even better. Because when you talk about paying Justin and draft picks, it just opened up a whole new can of worms for me. So many different ideas. that I really don't even have time to talk about because when you talk about paying Justin, I'm thinking about paying quarterbacks in general, and there just need to be some changes or some different, better criteria when it comes to paying quarterbacks in the NFL. So I hope my answer was on point with you for Ryan Poles. Talking strategy down at the combine and through the media, but we don't know what the hell is happening. And that Jalen Carter thing influenced it a lot more than a lot of people tend to think.
I really think. I mean, I'm very unfortunate for him that he in that spot. But as a Bears fan, I think that was probably the best thing because I really think they was considering taking him with the first pick. But like you said, we need bodies. We need difference makers. We need, as Dion said, we need some dogs on the field. And you got
I
to
don't think
get some.
I don't think they wanted to take him with the first pick,
They,
even before this incident.
okay, okay,
I think they wanted to trade out and get him in the top 5
and still have,
because
yeah, yeah,
yeah, because Ryan Poles is, I think he's very, very aware and very much influenced, very much enthused to get more picks. He wants this team to have his stamp on it,
mm-hmm,
and he's willing to go along with the Justin Fields because he knows that if Justin can be serviceable and he can provide the talent, the smash mouth turnover defense with the serviceable weapons around Justin, he knows that this is not fantasy football. He knows that this is not we just go get a quarterback and it just change our fortunes. He knows that this is a 53-man effort.
mm-hmm.
And that's how he's going to approach this draft.
And
And that's how I feel about it.
what's the offensive lineman from the Chiefs? He didn't get franchise tagged, so he's free. And the Bears supposed to be looking at him. His name slipped my mind right now, but
Is it Brown?
yes, when Orlando
Yeah.
Brown Jr. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of good things falling in our lap right now, and that's why I got my hat on right now because I thought we was gonna bring this up, but I'm really really excited as a Bears fan right now.
I understand that, but just me as a Bear fan, and at this time of the year, when there's so much basketball being played and baseball season is upon us, I just take this time of the year to just enjoy what else is going on because trade talk, draft talk, free agency speculation, it's just all talk. So I just want to respond to the stuff that's actually going on that's going to keep me watching the game.
And speaking of baseball, I drove by Wrigley Field earlier this week, saw him mowing the lawn. I'm like, what they cutting the grass for? It didn't even dawn on me that they in spring training right now, and they going opening day is probably like 2 weeks away. So, but I do like the renovations that they do in Wrigley Field, and Wrigley Field actually looks nice, looks way more modern right now. But yeah, it's all about the Yankees though. It's
I
all
feel you. I feel you, but that's just why I don't get so dug in on Bears news. I know this is a Bears town, but I kind of diversify my opinions and my efforts towards other things because when the draft day comes, I'm locked in for 3 days.
and
I
see now
mean,
you be dedicated on that because I only watched the first day.
3 days is if I'm making the draft picks. So I think I've said enough. I'll see you on Sunday. It's
Sunday.
been real. I
Yep.
gotta go and slay the dragon tonight. So watch the game podcast. We'll be back Sunday. What time you figure around
Uh,
6 or 7 maybe?
yeah, because I think selection show is maybe like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. So yeah, it'll be Sunday evening. We back. We back on.
Yeah. So I say about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, somewhere in that area.
Yeah,
You'll get the notification. You'll hear the theme music,
you know it.
and we'll be right behind it. Watch the game podcast. Thanks for joining us.